Hello? So a while ago I made some videos of me reading from a book that I wrote when I was a child, and I never got around to finishing them because the book turned out to be way longer than I expected. So I think I got about halfway, and I thought I would get around to finishing it because, you know, finishing stuff tends to be good. If you haven't seen the previous videos, I'll put a link here and here to see the first two. And the last scene that I read, a brother and sister and two police officers apprehending this robber, I suppose, and the girl smacks him over the head and knocks him out. Yeah. So next chapter, tears and smiles. I stared non-stop at the man. What was his name again? Oh yeah, George. I had killed George. Are you okay? Asked the sergeant. Do you know what he was looking for? I questioned. Looking for? Asked the sergeant. Well, I began. It all started when someone broke in before, supposedly this man, and killed Mrs. Tibbs's cat. Before long I had told him the whole story. Then, just as I had finished, there was loud banging at the door. One of the officers answered it, and 3 ambulance crew came in. Mum and Dad! Cried John. What about them? I asked. That would be my business phone. Okay, I had someone already ring yesterday. Bloody Google advertising have called me twice now. Stop it! Interrupted my story. Blah, 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 blah. Basically, they go home, tell their parents they're fine, even though they ran away next door for a couple of hours late in the night. And they were talked to by a news reporter. Next chapter. Back to school with £20 million. I'm sorry, what? The next morning, I woke up with the sun on my bed, making me so warm and comfortable. What a day for a Monday morning. I turned over and looked at my alarm clock. 12:35. Well, that's not morning, is it? I suddenly got a delicious smell of bacon, fried eggs with a topping of sausage, and mushrooms. After all the atmosphere last night, Mum swooped up a delicious fried breakfast. What child talks like that? Bloody hell. I read way too much Famous Five in my childhood, I would just like to point out now. Mrs. Tibbs has invited her back round her house again. It's time for a bit of explaining. I know you well enough that I can trust you now. Trust her? She's like a 8-year-old child, I think. Can't remember how old she is now.
In my husband's will, it said I should have all his belongings and more than half of his money.
More than half of his money? How generous of him.
But his workmates only less than £1,000 each.
What? He gave his workmates money? I'd be fucking grateful if I was his workmate.
They think they should have most of the money because my husband owed them money.
Oh, I see. Your husband was in debt. I don't understand, I frowned. You mean that man was one of his workmates?
Something like that. You see, I haven't put the money in the bank yet. I still have the cheque. I need you to take the cheque and look after it. Hide it. Keep it safe. They won't suspect you.
She has given a small child a cheque for £20 million. First of all, what person has £20 million unless they're already living in a mansion? And what person has it on a cheque, doesn't put it in a bank? Young Zoe, you really knew nothing about the world, did you? Pretend that this makes sense.
Quickly, put it in your bag and put it somewhere safe. No one must know.
I nodded back at her. Nodded is spelt Knoded. The next day, unfortunately, we had to go to school. You know what I've just realised? My handwriting hasn't changed much since however old I was when I wrote this. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? So they're on their way to school. Their school is called the South Kinten School for Mix. The school for mix just means a school for boys and girls. I have nothing to say to that. I think we're going to leave it there for now. And we shall continue this story another time. Manual!